7. A very good morning to all. In today's session, we are all going to learn how to identify a business idea and an opportunity in a particular business organizations or a corporate bodies. So let's begin with the concept of an idea. So what is an idea? Idea is almost a concept that can be used for any financial gain, or which is a centered part of any product and services which can be offered for any sort of money. So when we talk about the idea could be any type of you can say a meaningful outcome that could be used to identify a basic concept of an idea of a basic concept of a product and services that could be used to earn a particular sort of money or a financial gain, we could say in other words, and that is actually called idea. So there are basically the four main characteristics of a business idea when we talk about a business organization or a corporate organizations. So the first one is innovative. The idea should be unique or should be very original or very creative, and it should offer something new, a uniqueness in itself, which is better than the existing products or services. And that we called about the Apple product, which is something unique, new in every version of its Apple mobile phones or gadgets. When we talk about the next idea is profitable. Of course, when we talk about the idea a particular researcher can make any idea which have a potential to generate a sufficient profits and provide a good return or a good rate of return on that particular investment. And one of the best example is Apple. Because Apple, whatever they have an idea to innovate or to have a creative idea and coming up every year with a new version of its products, which actually mean for a financial gain, and they have a potential to generate a maximum to maximum profits and provide a good rate of return on that particular investment on the same product. Next one is feasible. It should be realistic. It could be achievable given your skills, experience, or whatever the resources are available in that particular bracket. So that is called feasible. So the idea should be realistic. So whatever you think, whatever you prepare any concept and which is a best suitable concept or idea which should be realistic and which easily achieved through your skills, your experience, or whatever the resources like funds or equipments are available. Next one is scalable. The good business idea should have a growth potential. So if you are making up any idea or any concept, it must have a growth potential and ability to expand on new markets. So automatically, when we talk about a growth potential, when we talk about the ability, it always talk about that they must have a potential, your idea must have a potential so that they can expand a new market by adopting the same one. And these four are the main characteristics while we talking about the any business idea, any corporate idea to always portray for. Now we can come up to the next section, that is a sources of a new idea. So the first one is direct observation. So when you are traveling, when you are shopping in a shopping complex, when you are reading the books, when you are searching anything on the website or the Google, when you are listening anything on your social surroundings, you are observing everything, and on that perspective you can get a new ideas related to a particular product or any type of services, or you can get an idea, you can get a knowledge about the people lifestyle, and based on that particular ideas you can innovate, or you can have something creative in your mind, and that would be called under the direct observation. If you are traveling, new ideas can always emerge during travel, while you go to Shimla, while you go to Manali, and even everyone gets an opportunity to take to look out the new things, places, and meet a different types of the people to get an idea during the traveling purposes. Next one is window shopping and any unintentional visit to the market, which always plays a very important role in the process when it comes to cultivate your new ideas into it. Next one is reading. Reading is a very traditional method to talk about the products, which is an existing products or the people lifestyles, and how such lifestyles will be used to get an idea about a new product. Next one is the web search. So when we talk about in the current scenario, there are various advanced marketing or the knowledgeable tools which are available on the social media like Facebook, Instagram, or any type of the real like wallstreet.com, which always give a real life experiences and always talk about that how the one could access the demand for a new products or services. Next one is the social listening. It is not necessary to talk around the people or face-to-face basis, but you can interact, you can ask your questions, you can get suggestions through the social media as well, like Facebook, Instagram, use the tools of the artificial intelligence on the various websites and put your questions and ask them so that you will get the suggestions to get to you can say create your innovative or creative ideas so that you can so that they can generate into a maximum profit and expand into a new markets as well. So it is very important when we talk about the new ideas to find out what would be your target customers and what the target customers has to say about your idea and what the inputs that comes into it. And that's all about the one of the sources of the new idea, that is called direct observations. Now we can come up to the next source, that is called the unstructured or and the structured oral communication. And when we talk about unstructured or structured, so in case of the unstructured, you can talk to your family, you can talk to your friends, you can talk to your relatives, you can talk to the people who are going to use, whether talking about the similar products or you can see the existing product. So it's a way of casual communication which always gives you understanding, a fair understanding about the requirements or what changes are actually required, that what you are looking for. And that's called the unstructured communication. When you're talking about the channel distributions, when you're talking about the same perspective to a different people, about to a salesperson or a sales representative, that what would be the positive or the negative attitudes about the available products in the market, which always gives you an insight, which always gives you an in-depth analysis for what would be the required changes in the prospective period or the prospective initial stage about the new services, when you talk about getting up a new ideas about the new products and services. And that's all about the unstructured and structured oral communication. But in case of the structured oral communication, you always prepare a set of the questions. You all either it could be the close-ended or open-ended questions, and just communicate with the people, with the corporate persons, where there would be the distribution channels like wholesalers, retailers, or the salesmen or representatives, and through that you can easily get viewpoints about it, to get a new idea for a particular product or the services, or for anything invention about a product. And that's called a structured oral communication. And after all, as we are talking about the oral communication, it's a two-way communication in an unstructured manner or a structured manner as well. Now we can talk about the methods. Before that, I'm talking about the sources of a new ideas. But now, what would be the methods of generating the ideas? How you can generate, how the researchers generate the ideas for a new products, or for anything inventing, or and having any creative or generating any creative ideas for the company's new products. So these are the methods, these are the four main methods of generating ideas. The first one is e-survey. As there are plenty of the researches going on in the different perspective, in the different subject areas, and a Google form is the ultimate way to get the source of knowledge, an opinion about the questions that a particular researcher seeks to find out, and that's called the e-survey. So Google product is all which is a very easy way to handle, and it is a free of cost, and it is very arranged in a very organized manner to have an opinion poll on a particular questions was being asked in that particular perspective. And the Survey Monkey is also another paid product for conducting the opinion polls regarding the products, or to know the consumers' purchasing intention, or about the consumer buying behavior as well. So there is, if you look out the YouTube if you look out the YouTube channel, there is an opinion poll, there is a survey poll is always being conducted before you opening up, or before you begin any video or a particular song on the YouTube channels. So that opinion poll, that survey poll is actually called the e-survey, so that they will get to know about the consumers' opinions, about the consumers' intentions related to the products or services that are currently available in. Next one is the Evernote. There are the chances there where the ideas come up and go without being able to note them down. And Evernote may assist you in noting down every thought instantly. So it is very important in whatever you are looking up, whatever you are observing, whatever you are listening, whatever you are talking about anything about the related to existing products, or anything which have a aim to innovate or invent a new product. So there may be a chances where ideas could go and come up into your mind, and you have an habit that to write down that points, to write down that ideas on a piece of paper, which always assists you throughout your journey. Next one is Ninja Essays. So it is a team, it is a teamwork. It always involves the incredible creative authors, which always helps you to brainstorm or craft a high quality business plans or ideas for you and your team. So you can appoint a team of creative authors who can always helps you to generate the ideas, which always help you to brainstorm your creativities, your crafts, which always involves a high class or high quality business plans for you and for your team as well. Next one is cloud computing, which always talk about the advanced technologies where the internet must always be used for the convenience and the cloud computing, and it always been used for the convenience and how the transportation and how the Google Slides could be used to share, and if it is a work of a group entrepreneurship. So if any work to be into a group, then automatically this cloud computing tool is one of the best tool to use, being as a convenient way of transportation, how to transfer the files from one person to a distance with a long distance who are living outside the country, and Google Slides to share so that everyone would get to know your ideas or how you generate your ideas. You're looking up the Google Slides into a different perspective, and how, and if you look up the charts available, the different authors, different people who are always mention their ideas, mention their opinions and views. While reading them, you will also get an idea about the new ideas, and you just keep on record in it. Now we can come up to the next section, that is the steps for the conceptualization of the new ideas. So automatically there are always a steps to considerate about your about anything that always create a new ideas. So these are the particular steps. The first step is pinpoint the identified gap through brainstorming and the reverse brainstorming. Sorry. So when we talk about the brainstorming, we always talk about that if you see any gaps between your ideas or which you have been detected on a board, so you have to look out the positive or the negative points about all the proposed products or services. Just filter it and come to the most suitable or the best option, and accordingly you can look out upon the best option and use it for creating a new product, or you can say services proposals. And when we talk about the reverse brainstorming, so whatever the problems or the issues that could have, you can use the methods, various type of methods when they're about the problem solving techniques could easily identify when you are talking about the brainstorming. So it's accordingly work. Then when you have to identify the best suitable option, you have to apply the techniques, the methods of the problem solving techniques or the problem solving methods could be easily identified when it comes to the process of the brainstorming. When we talk about the reverse brainstorming, so you have to, the particular researcher have to look out the causes of the problems, and accordingly they will plan so that they can produce something new, they can produce something, a new ideas that how the problems could be resolved in it. Let's take an example. If anyone planning to produce something for a college going students, like preparing the notes, and you just start thinking that how the notes is to be prepared and what type of product is to be made, but unfortunately if unfortunately it will be disliked by the college students, so definitely it is an issue for the teachers, for the organization, and based on the feedback of this by the students, it always improve the products on those parameters or according to the opinions or the feedbacks of the college students as well. And that actually called the reverse brainstorming. The next step is the scamper. So it is, we always talk about the combine, the adapt, the modify, or the put to an another use. And that is called the scamper, to eliminate or rearrange, which is always used to find out the best solution for the detected gaps which has been found between the demand and supply forces. So it is a process of the examination of all those existing products which actually need modifications, adaptation, combine, eliminate, and rearrange into a new solution, into a new product. And it is one of the best effective substitute to prepare for something new, something convert the existing product into the new product, and that is called the scamper. So these are the basically the tools which will be used to come up with the best solution of any problem, of any solutions, or any detected gaps which has been found during the demand and market forces. Now we can come up to the mind mapping for product, service, scale, or location. So mind mapping is a diagrammatical representation that how we can identify the gaps between the demand and supply and how it will be filled. So we have a problems, we have a solutions, and ultimately we just generate a new ideas, the concept, the task, or the words could be arranged and linked through the you can see a linear or the non-linear diagrams, which always provide solutions to the user, a conceptual framework to the users, which can be developed a central solution for that particular issue, and that actually called the mind mapping. The next step is to identify the segment of the society which would like to enter the market. In this particular step, entrepreneurship is the best way to enter into a particular segment of the society. But entrepreneurship is actually the painful and the tough struggle in the beginning, because whenever they coming up to the new products and services, it's something new for the entrepreneur. It's something that it really is really strong to focus about it. So entrepreneur have to make such products and services which is very near to their heart, and which is really need to strongly feel about it. So it is very important for the entrepreneur while entering into the market to evaluate the market, to evaluate own self as well, whether they are actually willing to spend their own resources, time, and energy, which is something where the return is not being assured as well. And that's why the entrepreneurship is one of the segment of the society which always move on or to enter into the market, into a new market, and that is called entrepreneurship. And the last one is the last step, scan the government policy. So when you have a new ideas, or you can see concentrate on new ideas for a new product, it is very important to look upon the government policies. As time to time the government policies keeps on changing, and the government is always encourage the entrepreneurship or the production of the some products, so that they have to follow up the procedures of the government in terms of fiscal policies at rebate on the custom duties of the imports, or tax benefits on the some finished products. So these policies must be studied well while taking up the final decisions or any options available, which need to continue by the entrepreneur or by any other organization. So ultimately, when such incentives or such benefits, whether the rebate or the tax benefits has to be put on, so it not only reduce the cost of the production, but the government is always wants it to be produced, and that's why the government has put such benefits on the products. So automatically it is very important for the entrepreneur, for any type of the organizations, whether private, government, or the public, should look upon these government or scan up the government policies, and they always look after the comparative advantages for the country, not only in the domestic level but also for the international trade level as well, so that the government always encourage the entrepreneurs to be the self-reliant. So, and that's why there is a word that you can say the Prime Minister of India wants to be called a self-reliant India. So a particular entrepreneur must also study all those possibilities for their products or services that actually they are wheeling up via creative ideas. And this is a way, these are the steps that how you can concentrate your new ideas into a real practice. And these are the 4-5 steps that a particular entrepreneur or a researcher has to begin with. So before that, you have to consider these steps and then come up and fix up a new idea or a creative idea and turn into a new product, and which is very essential in any of the country when you are dealing with the national or the international perspective. Now we can look up upon the most important part, that is the scanning and the screening of the business ideas. And there are the 3 main techniques that how to scan, how to screen the business ideas. And there are 3 main techniques. The first one is SWOT analysis, and the second one is minimum viable product, and the third one is break-even point. So let's begin with the first technique. Let's talk about the SWOT analysis. SWOT analysis is actually a conceptual framework where a particular business organization use such framework to identify, to analyze the organization strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and through these words to make up, and it is ultimately a solution of any problem where the organization is actually or really facing off. The primary goal of such analysis is to increase the awareness of all those factors that actually using up in making up a business decisions or establishing any business model or strategy. So such analysis always used to prepare any business model or business strategy which is very essential for a particular successful organization. So such SWOT analysis, the internal and the external environmental and you can say non-environmental factors which ultimately impact the availability of the decisions, that whether the decisions could be changed according to such factors or not. And it could be done through the SWOT analysis. So businesses are the most of the organizations use this SWOT analysis, and it always used by the profit or the non-profit organizations. So it always depends upon the organization to organization, and the individuals who are working in an organizations, they always consider for the personal assessment, and such tool will be the best appropriate tool when it comes to the personal assessment of any of the organizations. SWOT is also used to assess the initiatives, that whether the new ideas that entered into it that would be used, that whether it is capable to or to generate the maximum profits or not. It would be analyzed for the new products, new projects, or the existing products or the existing projects. As an example, the CIO could use the SWOT to help that to help to create a strategic business planning template or perform a competitive analysis. So when a particular organization and being as a CIO or CEO, then automatically when any analysis, a competitive analysis report or any strategic business analysis template is to be prepared, SWOT analysis is the best tool to do that. SWOT framework is developed by the Albert Hampere, who have tested the approach in the 1960s and 1970s at the Stanford Research Institute. And SWOT analysis was originally developed for the businesses and are actually based on the data which has been available from Fortune 500 companies as well. And it was, and such reports or the such data, it could be used by many organizations of all the type, whether small, medium, or large, being in preparing any business ideas or new business ideas, picking up a business decisions, and it could be used for the brainstorming process. Now we can come up or move forward about the description of these four words. That is, SWOT stands for strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats. When we talk about the strength is always describe what the organization excel at and what it makes them separate from the competition, having a strong brand image, loyal customer base, a balance between the customers and the employees of the company, a best technique, which is a unique technique that the company is using. So this is something a strength of the company could hold on in a separate or the best place in it. For example, a hedge fund may develop a proprietary trading strategy, which always helps to, you can say, beat the market results, and it could decide how to use those results to attract new investors. Next one is weaknesses. When we talk about the weaknesses, it always stops an organization and how they could perform at an optimum level. These are the areas where the business could come forward to modify, to improve, so that they could stay in a competitive environment as well. As there is a weakness of any organizations like weak brand, higher than the average turnover, higher level of debt, inadequate supply chain, lack of capital. It could be any weaknesses who could be of an organization. But the ultimate goal is to improve those areas, which is actually more important to remain in a competitive world. So that's all about weaknesses. The opportunities always talk about the favorable, the external opportunities, the factors that could give an organization a competitive advantage or to face the competition successfully. For example, if a country cuts tariffs, the car manufacturer can export its cars into a new market, and ultimately it increases sales and market share. So they have another opportunity if the company cut off the tariff rate. So the opportunity, they can export the car into a new market, which increase their sale market share, and that's all about opportunities. Next one is threats. Threats are refers to all those factors which actually harm the organization, and the factors which actually have a potential to harm such organization. For example, the earthquake or the drought is a threat to the wheat producing company, or the heavy rainfall is a threat to a wheat producing company. So it may destroy or reduce the crop yield. So other common threats would be the earthquake, which always destroy the large, high, peak height buildings as well, which ultimately damages the life of the people and ultimately the losses of the roads or the losses of the jobs as well for all those people that involved in it. So other common threats like the things like rising the cost for the material, increasing the competition, tight labor supply, and so on. So these are the threats for the organizations as well. So this is an example of the General Motors or SWOT analysis example where we are talking about what would be the strength of the General Motor, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So when we talk about the strength, it is a strong position in the US automatic market. It's a sustainable and eco-friendly vehicle, strong portfolio. Since the root of the General Motors is very strong, rare product recalls, weaknesses, limited presence in some countries, solely dependent on the US market. It relies on the pickup trucks and serve for the sales growth. That is the weakness of this particular General Motors. Opportunities are for such a company that is the electric vehicles they are coming up for, autonomous vehicles, and the threats is a global recession, labor strike, industrial trends. So these are the various sections, the SWOT analysis of the Motors, where we are talking about the General Motors strength and weaknesses, the opportunities, the threats as well. Now we can come up to the next technique of screening the business idea, that is called the minimum viable product. When we talk about the minimum, we are talking about the root of the solution, whatever the solution possible in it. So minimum means the most rudimentary bare bones foundation of the solution possible. Viable is sufficient enough for the early adopters. So whatever the root is or the foundation, the bone, the rear bones foundation, or whatever the solution possible is in it, whatever the minimum solution is, it's sufficient for the early adopters, for the beginners, and which is something they can come up to that come up to a new product which always touch the consumers, and it would always feel a strong image among the customers, and that actually called the minimum viable product. So this is a classification of these three terms where the minimum stand for the most rudimentary bare bones foundation of the solution possible, and viable is a sufficient image. Whatever the solution possible, it is sufficient enough for the beginners, for the early adopters, and which is something, a tangible product they could come up that where the customers could touch and feel that product, and that's called the minimum viable product. And whatever they create at a minimum solutions which is sufficient for the beginners, and that's called the minimum viable product. We can talk about the example Instagram, Facebook, Orkut, etc. So these are the basically the apps which always allow the users to do something new. That means using a creative ideas, a minimum solution, it could reach out globally, and that's called the minimum viable product. So Instagram is also a product where it allow the users not to share the profits. They can apply the filters. They can use the various apps to see whether the particular users could like the application or not, or whether it is approved by the market, it is liked by the users or not, and throughout its journey, all the incredible features that we see today, it's ultimately an amazing success story. It could be what would be the incredible feature of messaging, business profile, stories, live telecast, tagging, hashtag, and much more about it. Globally, there are 1.074 billion Instagram users now. So this is how their minimum solutions could earn a successful and a most amazing stories involved in it, and that's called Instagram. Next example is Facebook. Facebook is also the one of the popular social networking site which was founded by the Mark Zuckerberg in 2004. And the basic minimum viable product idea is to connect the students of Harvard since the beginning. But using this platform, users can able to post the messages on board. They can use up the ideas, whatever they have in their mind, and just post on the Facebook to expand that platform to reach out the maximum to maximum users of the Harvard University. And the mark ultimately involved Facebook, what we know today. So if you look up the Facebook, there are more and more expanded or innovative features that the particular users use into it. They can use their ideas about a product. They can use their opinion, put up their opinion and the views about the product and the Facebook openly, so that the thousands of users could use and gain knowledge whether to use or not to use the product. And this is how the founder has used this product and reach out to the crores or the billions of users even today. Now we can come up to the next technique that is called the break-even point. So break-even point is a point where the total cost and revenues are equal, which means there is no gains or loss for any of the businesses. It could be the small or medium. So anyone could reach out the level of the production which is equal, or where the cost of production and the revenues for such product are equal. For any of the new businesses, it is very important calculation in your business plan. So whatever the potential investors in your business is always want that they have to earn and more revenue, but ultimately when it reached to break-even point, the cost of production is equal to whatever the revenues they could earn or rate of return could earn for that particular product. So automatically there is a situation where the profits and loss are equal for the first couple of months or years, and accordingly after that the break-even points could get over, and it depending upon by adopting a strategic business plan which is actually being presented to a or you can say reveal to a potential investor, so that the situation could be eliminated. So for the existing businesses, this could be a useful tool not only for analyzing the cost and revenues, but also it is very important to prove or to look after what would be the potential, you can see, scenario of the revenues of the production once there is a disaster, when there is any disaster scenarios could occur. That is also important for the existing businesses, like there is a winding up, there is a stage of the winding up of the company, and there is a stage of the financial losses where the company could turn on more on it. So this is a diagrammatrical presentation where the revenue and the cost, what cost would be the variable cost or the fixed cost could be equal. And that point is actually called the break-even point, where the total cost and the revenue would touch or intersect to each other. That point is called an equilibrium point, or when it comes to the break-even level or break-even point, break-even analysis, it refers to a break-even point. So when we talk about the mathematically, break-even point is equal to the total fixed cost by price per unit minus variable cost per unit, or break-even point in units, its total fixed cost by contribution margin. So automatically when it comes to the break-even point, the number of units, the production is 10,000, and the particular dollars, or you can say it's $1,20,000. So when there is a revenue, as you can see the graph, revenue is consistently increasing, and the total cost is begin from the fixed cost, that is $1,00,000. So accordingly, when they intersect the revenues and whatever the touching or interaction point is called the break-even point. Let's look up the example, a practical example of the break-even point. Find out the break-even point if the fixed cost is 3,62,000, 36 lakhs 20,000, and the market price per unit is 440 rupees, and the variable cost per unit is rupees 40. If the annual demand is 10,000, whether the entrepreneur should make it or not. So let's come up with the solution. What is the formula or to calculate the break-even point? That is the fixed cost. As when you look up the formula is given here. Total fixed cost by price, that is market price per unit minus variable cost per unit. When you look up the information and which is given in the question, and accordingly the formula will be used. So as the variable cost is given per unit, market price is given, fixed cost is given, so the formula is mentioned here that break-even point is equal to fixed cost by market price per unit minus variable cost per unit. And the fixed cost is already given 36 lakhs 20,000, and the marginal market price per unit is 440, and the variable cost is 40. So we put the values into the formula. So 36 lakhs 20,000 by 440 minus 40, that means 36 lakh 20,000 by 400 rupees. So ultimately, when we divide 36 lakh 20,000 by 400, we will get the break-even point in units because we are calculating in per unit. So we are calculating break-even point in units, that is 9,050 units. So the break-even point is 9,050 units, and when there is a demand of 10,000 units. So the entrepreneur should make it or not? Of course, the entrepreneur should make it or should continue the proposal or should adopt the proposal when there is a unit of 9,050 with the initial demand of 10,000. So it is a sustainable proposal, and the particular entrepreneur should go ahead with this proposal with the initial demand would come up with the annual demand would come up with the 10,000. Now we can come up that how to select the suitable business idea. So let's come up to the selection of a product. It is very important when you come up and when you select a suitable business idea, you have to select a product. So selection of a suitable business proposal, it must be based on the market analysis and of course based on the product where or whose the demand is expected to grow in the future, and of course the preference level of the consumers towards that product through the regular demand. It's also be another you can say factor to consider upon it by an entrepreneur. So the entrepreneur will always wants to get the maximum regular return on the investment when it comes to of doing on that particular new product. At the same time, it is very important to adopt your skills and experience your interest when while selecting any sort of product or any sort of new product for a market. The next step is evaluating the business idea. So when we talk about evaluating the business idea, the particular entrepreneur or the researcher would come up a list of the products, including the services, and it's need to check the qualities about these products and services regarding in respect of the demand and supply perspective. So even the researcher could easily make up a comparative analysis from all those options. Like it could use the SWOT analysis, and they could call up on the expert teams or the user to compare the investment level of all the selected options while having or while evaluating the business idea which has been selected for. So expected return, continuity of the demand, expected expansion of the demand are the sum of the criteria where the analysis is to be done and in which the business idea is need to be evaluated. Next one is the selection of the suitable business idea. So the third step is, once we have screening the business idea, we have evaluating the business idea, then the ultimate goal of the entrepreneur is to maximize the profit which can be achieved by increasing the revenues by selling up a product in the market. So automatically, or it minimizing the cost of the production. There are two main factors, whether to selling of the product in the market or to minimize the cost of the production. So if any entrepreneur increase the price of the product, that is their perspective or their wish to increase, but it's not necessary. It could be profitable or it could not be profitable for that particular, you can say, customers in that particular market. So in many cases, it is very important to understand that how it could be possible to have a perfect substitutes in the market. So the effort is always need to be made to control the cost of the production, as there is a perfect or substitutes of the products in the market are available in the market, and it totally depends upon the suitable prices involved in it. So it may not be possible in many cases that due to the prices level of the other substitutes to look into a market. So affix is always necessary to control the cost of the production. Now we can come up to the next important concept is market research. So market research is all about a process of gathering the information about your target audience, about your consumers, about your competitors as well. So this process is always consist of several steps, several procedures, like to identify what will be the research objectives, what would be the research method is to determine how to develop the research instrument, how to collect the data, how to report the findings of the data that a particular researcher has been collected, and whatever the data has been gathered in the market research, it could be shown through demographics, psychographic, behavioral data, market trends, competitors data, and customers feedback as well in the form of the tabulation. So the information, this such information through their market research always helps the business to develop their marketing strategies, or the business, and accordingly they could prepare the business strategies as well. So market research is always helps that how a particular entrepreneur to develop the products or services to enhance the user, or to fulfill the needs of the users, and to gain the experiences of the users as well. Methods of the market research: asking the buyers indirectly or directly asking buyer. So asking the buyers indirectly, so the people who are dealing with the buyers, they have get a very pragmatic suggestions. It could be opinion of the salesperson or the people who are working in a distribution channel, like wholesalers, retailers, distributors. So it's in this method of the market research, it is very easy to estimate the future demand, which is based on the feedback, which is based on the opinion of the salesman or the people who are working in distribution channel, or the staff, which have a very close relationship with the existing product. So on the basis of regular or the occasional association with the user, their views are very equally important and significant, whether it's positive or negative about the product. So accordingly, features or new features could be added on for the further improvements, so that it could enhance or satisfy the needs of the users who are actually using of the product on the first time. So automatically, when it comes to the modifications or any type of improvement is to be made, so it always undergoes a rigorous analysis before we taking up any final decisions. Advantages: this method is very simple. It also saves times and money. No statistical tool is needed. It is always based on the experienced people, and their opinions are almost correct. That is the advantages of the you can say observational opinion of the distribution channels. Disadvantages: this method may be useful only for a short period, but it cannot be turned on for a long-term market research. In a very dynamic environment or very variations in the environment when it goes on, the people may give opinions about the existing good, but on that particular entrepreneur cannot be dependable on such opinions that what kind of products they are looking for or whether they are using the same products or not. As if the salesperson are not trained for making up the estimations about the market, of course, and they can give user opinions. So ultimately, it cannot be acceptable or tolerable under the dynamic economic environment as well. Next method is Delphi method. So when we talk about the Delphi method, it refers a panel of experts which is used in the market research. They just given a series of the question and asked to give their opinions. So it's all about the you can say examination of the responses of the opinion of a set of the questions given to the users, and their opinions can be used for the further analysis, and of course their own opinions stored into a computer as well. So in case of contradiction, they can use a consensus report on their views. So sometimes experts don't have an equal level of the knowledge for all those questions which has been assigned, and how they will assign a weight or give a more weightage about the familiarity with the topic as well. Advantages: expert views, suggestions, recommendations are more reliable because expertise advice are equally important using this method. But disadvantage: there is a possibility that expert could not reach to consensus meaning or outcome of the particular views that come up from the various customers, and expert opinions may be sometimes based as well. Second is directly asking buyers. So the most reliable method may be concession, maybe census, and even it includes each and every user about that about being asked about what would be the expectations from the product. It could be feasible, it could not be feasible, whether it involves the higher cost, or time involved in it. And of course, it may or may not be required to give us such a detailed viewpoint as the product may be new. So in that scenario, an open field process for everyone to guess upon it. So it is advisable to ask from a sample of the users to get a particular view and opinion, a viewpoint about them, about a product. There are two main methods to use directly asking by: ethnographic methods and the statistical methods. When we talk about ethnographic method, the people is always involved about their cultural background. It's a study of the cultural background where a particular researcher will prepare a pen sketch of the people in that particular culture, again a theoretical background, or which will be easier to develop. You can say through a grounded theory, because after all, when we talk about the cultural background, the users are actually rooted or grounded to their roots. So that is culture. So for such ethnographic study, a purposive sampling is always adopted. Those participants who are interested to participate in the study, there is no fixed sample size, whether 5 to 10, it could be 5 also, it could be 10 also. So there is no fixed number of the samples, number of the participants who are willing to involve into a study. So data gathering or analysis always go simultaneously. An observation or unstructured interaction or cautionary, semi-structured cautionary, including open or close-handed, it could be used. In this particular method, the particular researcher could use the photo albums, diaries, reports of the local committees, memos is always used to understand the cultural background of the users towards that product, and get the answers on whatever the research questions a particular researcher have their mind, and immediately ask from the users. Advantages, it provides a very rich data. It is a very appropriate to study a new aspect of the human behavior, or while reached a user into a new place, or when their hypothesis cannot be made for the situation. Hypothesis is all about the declarative statements of facts a particular is trying to prove using the statistical tools. It does not rely on what the respondent repeats. So sometimes it is also one of the advantage that it's not wholly rely on the respondent's report. It is based on the researcher observations also. Disadvantage, of course, as it involves structured and unstructured observations as well. So the disadvantage, always consider that observations takes a lot of time, or plenty of time involved in it. As based on the researcher observation also, it is difficult to maintain the required objectivities. The objectives that a researcher has prepared is not necessary to achieve all at a one time. So that is also the disadvantages of this method, Delphi method, ethnographic method, not Delphi. Next one is statistical methods. Statistical methods have two types: the directly asking from the prospective consumer, which is called a cross-sectional study. So there is a statement which has been made, is called the hypothesis statement. Whether to accept the hypothesis or reject the hypothesis could be done through the statistical method, the central tendencies, through the standard deviation, through the various tests of statistics. And for that analysis, to getting out the hypothesis to be reject or accept, it could be done through the SPSS software, which is used for the data analysis. Advantages is all measurements is to be done at one time. There is good control over the measurement process because SPSS software is being used for it. Follow-ups is not required. This is the one-time assessment process, analysis process, which is the most effective method of the demand analysis. It could be used for the demand analysis, supply analysis, competitive analysis. It could be any analysis could be done, which is always based on the data collection or data gathered. Disadvantage, time is actually very consuming, and it is sometimes just neglected in this method as well. Accuracy of the results depends upon the sample size or the opinions, the data that they have information they have given to the researcher. So automatically sometimes accuracy is not up to the mark, and it always depends upon the sample size and its constituent factors. Next method of the statistical, next term, that is calculating the trend through regression. This is called a time series analysis. Time series where the market trends, where the trends of the demand and supply is to be maintained, is to be drawn graphically to estimate the demand, the exact demand in the market research. It is a most common method to fitting the line, the market trend line, whether the demand and supply are equal or unequal to each other. So there is those two steps. Find out the independent variables where the dependent whatever the information available, and use the least square equation, which is called a regression equation, that is y is equal to a plus bx. So b is the slope of the line, which is a trend line, and a is a y-intercept. So once the regression equation is prepared, so we get to know that what would be the demand for a product is actually being estimated using the market survey once it is done. So whatever the value is to be calculated, that is actual demand of a product. And it could be done through the software which is called a STATA. A software SPSS may be used to find the trend. So instead of casually or manually is to be done, when it comes to the last sample size, the data has been collected and we have to draw a regression line. So there are two main softwares to be used rather than to do manually. That is called STATA and the SPSS, statistical softwares. It provides a more scientific calculated values, as we have to estimate the actual demand of a product, and it could be through use the regression equations or the analysis part. So it always gives an accurate trend as well. Disadvantage: forecasting to the future based on the data that we collected is a limited acceptability as well. Accuracy in measuring independent variables as also affect the accuracy of dependent variables. So that means the inverse there is an inverse relationship in the measurements of the independent and dependent variables. If there is a low demand, it's due to the unexpected circumstances. As you can see, COVID-19, where the values of the market trends, the market demand of the products, it could be phased through the or changed through the values of A and B, which automatically decreased substantially. So this is how the unexpected circumstances like COVID-19, the values of the market or you can say A and B is automatically decreased. So that's all for today, as we have almost done about the forecasting about this topic, that is the regression analysis, which is a last one where we have studied the advantages and the disadvantages, which is based on the past data as well. So thanks for listening this lecture, and I will come up with a more and more interesting topic in the next upcoming blogs. Thanks for listening, and namaste to all.